This video will quickly run through how to simplify a rational expression, and we defined this in class earlier last week. So a rational expression is just simply a fraction that contains variables, and we will talk about excluded values when we have class again. But you can see that in the problems 1 through 6, I've rewritten the problems, but when I rewrote the problems, I factored all of the polynomials that were presented. And then in the second column, all the evens, they were presented with a division symbol, so I just simply rewrote them as a fraction. So divided by the binomial y minus 8 is the same thing as setting this up as a fraction, and then y minus 8 becomes the denominator. So once you get each piece factored, then you look for common factors top to bottom. And you just simply divide away the common factor, and the piece left standing becomes the simplified answer. So this will be the simplified answer. In number 3, x plus 2 is common to each, so x minus 2 becomes the simplified expression. And in number 5, it was just a GCF factoring, but then what remains is just the 7. So as I go through these, you can see my work is organized nice and neat, so it's easy for me to identify the most simplified form of what I was asked to do. So here, the only thing to note is that the denominator, when the denominator is its own polynomial, and these are all binomials, you should think of it as grouping it with parentheses around it so that the binomial would become divided out. Both pieces of the binomial become divided out. I can't separate this. Since it's in the denominator of the fraction, the two terms stay together inside parentheses. So I don't have the option to just remove one of them. I have to be able to divide both of them away. So those are your simplified answers for 1 through 6. And let's look at a few on the next page. Okay, page 9. If I were to just present number 9 in its factored form, I would then have x plus 11 times x minus 3, and then my denominator that's sitting here, I would think of that as being grouped together in parentheses, and then I would divide away the common binomial so that x plus 11 would be the piece that remains. The only thing I would point out on this page is you would just simply rewrite. So this first is a difference of squares, x plus y times x minus y. And then the division symbol just tells you to go ahead and set this up as a fraction. And then the denominator, group those together as one term. And then you can see that this is what's common top and bottom, so that this is the piece that remains for your simplified answer. And I will let you look at the rest of these on your own. Number 12, you're going to have to do a little bit more factoring with a problem like number 12. So in your numerator, if you remove the GCF, then you can see that you're going to have to use the skills that we learned last week in this process. So you still have to know how to factor. And then my denominator would be x plus 5. So I would take the division problem and set it up as a fraction. So I'll do this one with you and let you do the others by yourself. So I would factor my numerator. And this is going to be x plus 5 times x minus 7. And then you would analyze what's common in top and bottom. And your simplified answer for number 12 would be the 2 and the x minus 7. And I would just leave the answer like that. It's not incorrect to multiply the 2 through, but you can just leave your answer in that form. And we will discuss the excluded values in class next week. We'll come back to that next week in class.